Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's been doing okay during the Lion's Gate. I wanted to discuss the Lion's Gate and how it's affecting people and why it's so important. And I'm going to go over a few of the days on how they were being celebrated through Christianity, some of the Lion Gates dates. So it ties into the St. Lawrence River, and it also ties into the Virgin Mary. So I want to get into that because I think it's really important. This time is super important because we're right on the middle path between Cancer being the moon pillar and Leo being the sun pillar, right? So when we have Freemason pillars, the middle path is known as the narrow middle path, where you can transcend the polarity of this realm and you can balance your energies between the masculine and the feminine. Now, on August 10th, Venus is, not conjunct with the sun, but, just below the sun. So she's below the ecliptic. So the energy of Venus is going to be a little bit the underbelly of her. Okay, so there's lots of different energies coming in. If you listen to different spiritual people, they're talking about energies coming in from the sun, getting downloads at this point, and a lot of healing is being done. Okay, because of the feminine is with the sun, Venus, the planet. She's the feminine planet. So there's lots of healing happening, and it's affecting people differently. Some people are going into, the dark night of the soul. And then there's people that have done their work are feeling a little bit more light at this time and kind of doing more in a reflection, right? Instead of getting depressed about it, people are starting to feel empowered. Okay, so right now, during this time, Osiris is right close to the Spica star. Okay, now this star is really important because it aligns with the Washington Monument. This is how George Washington created the Washington Triangle. Like we have Arcturus up here in Boots. That is the White House. And then we have Regulus, which is this star here, very, very important star. This is the king star, right? It's the king, the lion king. And this really means that you've alchemized. You've gone through the gate and you've alchemized your feminine and male energies. And so the sun gets there around August 16th. But that is where the Capitol building is. Okay, so there's the Washington Triangles here. I've explained this before. And then we have Mercury and Mars almost conjunct here at the hind leg of Leo. And these relate to Venus, right? A lot. Mercury moves with Venus, always with Venus, going, leapfrogging around the sun. And then, of course, Mars is her lover, and he represents war. So he's like, she's love, he's war. Mercury is your mind, your finance, and also communication. Okay, so there's lots of energies coming in here around Leo, where you're pride and ego could be getting involved in the lower form of that. Okay, so I just want to go through some of these placements, and this again was on August 10th, and I wanted to see where the moon was. Yeah, the moon was in the Silver Gate. So as the gate opened, the Lion's Gate, we had the moon in the Silver Gate, right between the horns of Taurus, and then the sun is in the Lion's Gate. Okay, now this is really important because the Silver Gate is your third eye, right? It's the lateral ventricles, the horns behind your spot where your third eye is. And that's why Taurus rules your third eye, right? And the moon was there. So these three gates are important to your body. Okay, so the Silver Gate is your third eye. The Lion's Gate is your heart chakra, which is Cancer and Leo. Okay, that's why the middle path. That's why you always have to think with your heart. Okay, and feel with your mind kind of. This is balancing the Lion's Gate with the Silver Gate. Okay, now the Golden Gate is your sacral chakra, and that's ruled by Mars and Scorpio, right? So these three gates in your body are really important. Okay, so they have to bring your Kundalini energy up from your Golden Gate, your sacral, up through your heart, and then activates your third eye through your Silver Gate. Okay, so this gate, you know, this Lion's Gate is really important because the moon was traveling from the Silver Gate, and he goes to the Lion's Gate at the end of these 8 days between August 8th and August 16th. Now, Perseus is here, and the reason I circled him is because on August 10th, in antiquity, the sky was always being watched at this time because of the Perseid meteor shower, and that all ties into a comet. And that actually in Christianity, it was kind of like taken over in Christianity to represent Saint Lawrence. Okay, so the St. Lawrence River is named after that saint, which is tied to August 10th. And we're going to get into all that. And then Jupiter is almost in conjunction with Uranus, Uranus is like freedom, fighting. He's like not of this world. He's kind of like wanting you to go to the other realm, right? And then Jupiter is the god of this realm, and Aries, they're both in Aries, which is the crown chakra. So we got a lot going on with our bodies here. Like this is like really heavy. It's like crazy heavy. Okay, so if you've been feeling it, you're a little tired or whatever, it's because there's a lot going on. Okay, now I tried to look out and see these Perseids meteor shower. I haven't seen them. Maybe some of you have seen them, but if you look at Cassiopeia or Perseus, you might see them in that direction. Some articles I read said you can see them in different locations in the sky, not just that location, but that's what they were known for, is to be shooting around in this location in the sky. Okay, now we're on August 15th today, and now the moon has traveled from Taurus, and now he's here, you know, in a new moon position. It's not an eclipse because the moon isn't on the ecliptic. It's not here. It's above the ecliptic. Venus is below. And he passed over actually just before the gate opened. The moon was below the ecliptic, and it crossed over into the north node. So when he's south node, he's below the ecliptic, and he went north node. He goes north node just around Aries now. So just as he was coming in here, he was coming into north node, which is where you're kind of like your soul is going from south node to north node all the time. Okay, so you're going up above the ecliptic. So he's traveling, he made it above, and he's almost in the lion's mouth now. Okay, so that's pretty cool that he went from the Silver Gate to the Lion's Gate, and we have a new moon. So it's like planting the seed, and you know, whatever you've been feeling during this time, you plant that seed now. Of course, this is really heavily associated with the feminine because of Venus being there. And I'll get into that a little bit more. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the martyrdom of Saint Lawrence. Okay, now he was cooked on a rotary, and one of his sayings is, you know, I'm not cooked enough, flip me over. Basically, he was not screaming when he was being burned and cooked, and the Perseid meteor showers represent his tears, the coals of the fire and the tears coming from him. That's what they represent. Okay, so here he is here, stained glass window. The griddle, which is basically, you know, what you cook people on, or cook, I should say people. He was cooked on that, but, you know, cook meat, the instrument of his death. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to go over that a little bit because I find this fascinating because it's tied to the St. Lawrence River. Now, the St. Lawrence River, you know, is like the mouth of North America, right? Coming from Europe. That's where they were passing through. The French were coming down there, and a very important river. So, yeah, I just find that all very fascinating that, you know, I don't believe if you research the St. Lawrence River that it says that it's named after him, but obviously there's a huge connection. And the reason is, yes, it does say that, actually. They say that Jacques Cartier came down on that day, on August 10th, and that's why he named it the St. Lawrence River. Yes, I do remember reading it. Okay, so here we go. Lawrence is especially honored in the city of Rome, of which he is considered the third patron after St. Peter and St. Paul. So these guys, St. Peter and St. Paul, are super important. So he's third in the row. The church built over his tomb, the Papal Minor Basilica de San Lorenzo Flori de Mura, became one of the 7 principal churches of Rome and favorite place for Roman pilgrimages. The area approximate to the basilica is named Quattro Sant Lorenzo. So it's a quarter of St. Lawrence. Because of the Perseid meteor showers typically occurs around mid-August or an approximate of his feast, some refer to these showers of the Tears of St. Lawrence. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. And here Lawrence is remembered in the Church of England as well, not just the Catholic Church, with the lesser festival under the title Lawrence Deacon Martyr, August 10th. Okay, so we get the Christianity coming into the Lionsgate. Yeah, and so here it's saying Jacques Cartier came down the river on August 10th and the feast day of St. Lawrence in 1535. Okay, so that's why it's called that. Today, the river is still known by indigenous nations by the number of distinct names. Okay, we're just talking about the names, but the Abenaki called it the Montreal River. This is super important, okay? I cover all this in my book, and I kind of like just giving you a little precursor here of the importance of the St. Lawrence River. It's the walking path, the big current, the large water river, okay? But it is tied to, you know, the Lion's Gate. Now, what's fascinating is that the Freemasonry have this order of St. Lawrence the Martyr in their Masonic degree, whose ritual is based upon the story of Lawrence. It is one of the constituent degrees of the Allied Masonic degrees. Okay, so this, you know, now we start to see the importance of the Lion's Gate. Okay, it's not just, oh, energy is coming in. This is all, it's never just about, oh, you know, new age energy coming in, you know, it's a Lion's Gate portal. No, everything is always about history. And if you dig into your history enough, you'll find out why these dates are important. And these dates are repeating history. You know, when they say history repeats itself, it's because of the numbers and the dates. Okay, this is why. It's because we're in a numbers game. You know, it's like everything is controlled by numbers and the dates, and because of where the sun is in the sky on these dates. So we're following the sky. An image of the saint is kept in the house of a local family throughout the year. The vigil and feast are held from the 9th to the 11th of August. It is one of the oldest dancing processions in the New World. Okay, so yeah, this is in Mexico. Okay, so they even celebrate him in Mexico. Okay, so very, very important. Talking here about the French explorer Jacques Cartier arriving, yeah, we got that. But then they're talking about the Laurentide Mountains that are north of Montreal are named after St. Lawrence Boulevard is in Montreal. This spans the width of the Montreal Island, the St. Lawrence County in New York, near Lake Ontario. These are all named after St. Lawrence. And in Switzerland, St. Lawrence is represented on the coat of arms of the city of Boulac with the grudillon, the griddle that they cooked them on. Okay, so what else we got here? Popular culture. In 2006, the novel Against the Day, they have reference to the Perseid meteor showers being watched by 3 characters west of Dolores Valley after playing a game of tarot. Haha. Okay, so the tarot card is tied into this time as well. I'll get into that. In a popular TV series, Curious George, okay, everybody knows Curious George, Allie and Bill hunt for the Perseids meteor shower, I guess, which they believe are creatures that look like purses. At the end of the episode, Allie's grandfather, Mr. Renkins, says that the Perseids is a meteor shower happening in early August. So yeah. And here's also the Leonids meteor shower associated with the comet Tempel-Tuttle. This comet also is with these Perseid meteor showers. Okay, and even there's a statue of St. Lawrence overlooking the river named after him on the St. Lawrence River. I did a little digging on this for my book, and it's down by the Thousand Islands. Now that is where the Skull and Bones cabin is. So yeah, so it's important too. And there they have his thing that he, got cooked on. There you go, the griddle. Okay, now this is also August 10th. I just wanted to go over some of the history that happened. They usually do important things on those dates, especially because it's tied into Freemasonry. Obviously we're talking about time. Anything to do with the Templars and Freemasonry, it's about time. And of course, 1675, King Charles II and John Flamsteed lay the foundation stone for the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, London. Okay, so that's when they took the meridian from France and brought it over to London. And they laid that first foundation stone. Basically, they stole time from France. Okay, that's kind of really what happened. They grabbed the time. Okay, so August 10th in 1776, okay, this is all tied into United States. Declaration of Independence is because it reaches London. So finally, this important paper reaches London, and now they know that, the Patriots have declared independence. August 10th in 1943. This guy, George S. Patton, I know people have said that Trump is a descendant because he looks like him, right? And then I started thinking about this. When I saw this, I was like, August 10th, he calls injured soldiers cowardly. Now, I remember Trump in the news saying he was making fun of somebody that was handicapped. Do you remember that? This is like the craziest movie we're in, okay? Because they're just getting us to remember history. That's what they're doing. They do like these random things, and people are like, "What's that? It's crazy." But they're just trying to, hello, remember this guy did it? Oh, when did he do it? Oh, August 10th. Oh, is that important? Oh, yeah, it's tied to the St. Lawrence River. Oh, yeah. Yeah, what else is St. Lawrence River all about, So there's like, everything is like trying to just trigger our memory. Okay, so August 10th, again, this I thought was interesting, 1941. Franklin Roosevelt met with Churchill, their second meeting, but it was in Placentia, Newfoundland. There's history, if you want to go dig into the history of Placentia, Newfoundland, it's ties into a battle there, and anyhow, just the word, okay, it ties into the divine feminine. Okay, so anytime you see a word that ties into birthing or a woman, you know, pay attention, okay? So now we're on August 15th today, and this is the Assumption of the Virgin Mary. Now, the Assumption of Virgin Mary is when she was considered to be risen when she died, okay? Some versions of Christianity don't, you know, follow it. They believe that her body actually died in human form, but others believe that she did rise, okay? And they also call it the falling asleep of the Blessed Virgin Mary, okay? So this is today, okay? And yeah, it's an important day, but it's all tying into the divine feminine in the Lion's Gate. And that's why we have Venus there right now. So this is a very, very important Lion's Gate. So the Feast of Assumption of Virgin Mary at the Novera de Silica in August. Oh, sorry. They celebrate, hang on, I'm just going to backspace here. They celebrate her at this town. You know, it's a huge, huge festival of the Virgin Mary. Okay. Now, it's important to look at the symbolism, okay? Now, they have her holding Jesus in the parade. And what I found interesting was they have the stars around her head, okay? So this is tying to the Assumption, where she's basically being elevated into heaven with her body, okay? So her body doesn't, you know, disintegrate. She basically gets lifted up, okay? So that's what the whole Assumption of the Virgin Mary is, August 15th. Now, here again, she has the stars around her head. This is in Mosta, Malta, okay? The Basilica of the Assumption of Our Lady. Okay, so that, you know, instead of calling her Mary, they call her Our Lady. Now, I live in Quebec, and everything's called Notre Dame, okay? That means Our Lady. Like, pretty much every town has a street of Notre Dame. It's very, very important that the French worshipped the Mary, okay? Now, it's not so common, you know, in Catholic that they talk about the Mary all the time. You know, they more worship Jesus than the Mary. But if you look into it, you know, there are in the French culture, it's very much about the divine feminine. Okay, so the stars around her head are interesting because it ties into Montreal. Okay, Orthodox Christians fast 14 days prior to the Feast of the Assumption of Mary. So they're fasting the whole time of Lion's Gate, including abstinent from sexual relations. Okay, so this is how they celebrate it. The Assumption is important to many Christians, especially Catholics and Orthodox, as well as Lutheran and Anglican, and the Virgin Mary's heavenly birthday. Okay, so it's her birthday of her ascending to heaven, the day Mary was received into heaven. Belief about her acceptance into the glory of heaven is seen by some Christians as the symbol of the promise made by Jesus to all enduring Christians that they too will be received into paradise. Okay, so it's not just her, it's us, because we've balanced our feminine and masculine energies in the Lion's Gate. Okay? The Assumption of Mary is symbolized in the fleur-de-lis to the Madonna. Now that is super important, okay? Because the French, that's their flower, the fleur-de-lis. In Quebec and in France, the fleur-de-lis to the Madonna, okay, is the white lily. Okay, now they actually changed it in Quebec. It used to be used as that, but they changed it. Now, if you go back further in history, in the course of Christianization, he put August 15th, in the middle of August, Augusta celebrated his victories over Marcus Antonius and Cleopatra with a 3-day triumph. You know, so when Cleopatra was, you know, overthrown there, it was all on this time. Okay, so during the Lion's Gate. the anniversaries, and later only August 15th. Oh, sorry about that. And with the public holidays from then on throughout the Roman Empire. So this is a really, really important time. Okay. Now, the white lily symbolizes chastity. Okay, it symbolizes the Virgin Mary. Okay, and the French adopted the symbol of the fleur-de-lis, which can be described as a stylized Madonna Lily. However, the shape of the symbol more accurately resembles that of a flag iris, the iris florentina. The lily appears on ancient coins, as well as medieval banners from Syria in the time of Saladin. The first time it appears in Western context is on a stone carving decorating the refectory of the hospitality compound at Acco, possibly indicating the link to the adoption by the House of Valas Anjou. So yeah, that's a family that uses it on their crescent. So before 1999, the Madonna Lily was the provincial flower of Quebec, probably as a reference to the fleur-de-lis on the flag of Quebec. However, this was criticized as the plant is not native to Quebec. And in 1999, it was replaced by the blue flag iris, which is native to the province. So yeah, so now we have the iris, but it's like, yeah, it's the fleur-de-lis, you know. It's super common in Quebec. It's everywhere. This white fleur-de-lis. Anyhow, so this is the flower, right? This is the fleur-de-lis of the Madonna. So Madonna lilies are depicted in the fresco titled Prince of the Lilies in the ruins of the ancient Minoan palace of the Gnosis. Okay? And some translations in the Bible identified the Hebrew word Shoshana as lily in the Song of Songs. As the lily among thorns, so is my love among the daughters. Okay, and then it got kind of translated to the rose. So the lily and the rose, there's a poem about the lily and the rose. Actually, when my friend passed, I actually dedicated that poem to her, because I was talking to her about my book, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to call it, and I said maybe the lily and the rose, and she agreed. So this is very important, okay, the divine feminine with the lily. Now, this is the very first church built in Montreal, and it has the stars around the head. Okay, and this church is dedicated. This is called the Notre Dame de Bon Secours, which is like Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Okay, translation. And there's an M here, kind of looks like two crescent moons, but it also looks like an M. And she looks onto the St. Lawrence. Okay, she's the Sailors Church. This is the very first church built in Montreal. So, you know, and Montreal is known for, you know, city of 100 churches. Okay, there's churches everywhere. Okay, so inside there's the Virgin Mary, but she has a moon at her feet. Okay, so this is very, very important. Okay, this is the crescent moon, the feminine, right? And here we have the Madonna holding Christ, and there's a wooden statue inside, and it's like the Black Madonna that you have in Europe. Okay, so it's a very, very important church, and I will go into big detail in my book about this. So this is why this placement today is super important, because of the heavy feminine influence here between the moon and Venus. Now, August 15th has some history. I wanted to check it out to see if there was anything really symbolic to ties into the United States. And yes, the Mayflower set sail on 1620. You know, it's one of the first ships that came with the pilgrimage to North America. And what else we got? Oh, the Wizard of Oz came out. Super important, you know, super important. Like, how do you get back home? How do you escape this reality? You know, it's tied to the divine feminine. Okay, so this is what we have to understand. Everything is about the divine feminine. What is the divine feminine? The moon, okay, with Venus. Okay, the victory of World War II. They did a kissing of the war goodbye. Okay, so this is like no more war. We're in the, you know, the Lions Gate. They said in the United States it was on August 14th, but it actually in Japan, it happened on the 15th. So they're just trying to reference August 15th. Okay. And then, of course, Woodstock. Woodstock started on August 15th. Okay, so, you know, this is the love festival, right? Peace, love, no war. Now, this is interesting. How do they declare the divine feminine now? Period poverty. Scotland's first in the world to make period products free. You know, how much, this is modern day divine feminine referencing. Okay, so this just happened last year. And then I wanted to check out August 16th, because August 16th, if you remember, if you've watched my videos on Elvis, you know, and it all tied into the needle with Aretha Franklin and Babe Ruth and Elvis Presley all dying on August 16th, right? So very, very important date because it ties into the needle, which is weird. You know, and I don't know, I'm assuming it's because the sun, you know, is in the lion's mouth and the needle, I don't know why they are kind of relating all that, because Elvis had the needle, you know, he was the first person to take the polio, I think, vaccine. And then Babe Ruth was the first person to take cancer, you know, radiation, chemotherapy. And then, so it has to do with pharmaceutical. It's like really weird, this August 16th date. And it's tying into where the sun is going on to Leo, into Leo's mouth and into Regulus star, which is bizarre. So it's either you're going to go with the pharmaceutical or you're going to go with the divine feminine to find your freedom. And that's the way I'm reading it. Now, this is really important. Okay, the statue of David. Now, if you've watched the Medici series, you should really watch that. It's very, very important. It ties into fighting for freedom and the Catholic Church. Okay, the whole history of the Medicis, and this statue is referenced in that series a lot because it's in their home. Anyhow, I just think it's very important, this statue, to the history of the Lion's Gate now. Now, we also had this astrological harmonic convergence on the dawn of the new age. They were celebrating the beginning of the age of Aquarius in 1987. They did it at Mount Shasta, I think also in Vancouver. People were gathering, you know, and they're like saying it's the age of Aquarius starting. Okay, now they had a solar flare 2 years later. It started in Quebec. Power went out all down the East Coast. There was aurora borealis, could be seen at the north, and then I think in Texas they could see it from the South Pole. So it was coming from the two poles of the planet. And that happened in March, but then it happened again on August 15th, which I didn't know about until I saw this date in the history here. And it actually affected microchips, and it halted the stock exchange in Toronto. So, you know, that's really, really, you know, important, okay, because that's the other path, right? So it's almost like August 15th is the divine feminine, and then August 16th is more going into you know, where, you know, I guess smart cities, you know, the whole AI thing. So they're talking about here these solar flares. The solar flares experienced during this time period would not be strong enough to physically destroy the Earth. This is because people are like doomsdaying everything about these solar flares. So in 1995, geomagnetic storms and solar flares have been monitored by NASA, and they're saying that they're trying to, you know, protect the system so it doesn't go down with the next one. But I think, you know, this all ties in. They're tying in the solar flare now to, you know, the Lion's Gate and the Divine Feminine. Well, this is on the day after August 16th. So this is important. So it's all tying into the Strength card, which originally was Fortitude. Okay, the Strength card originally was named the Fortitude because this is when the sun is on Leo. Okay, so, and it has to do with the woman. Okay, and accompanies two of the other cardinal virtues in the major arcana, temperance and justice. The older decks had two competing symbolism. One featured a woman holding or breaking a stone pillar. So we see that here. And the other featured a person, either male or female, subduing a lion. Okay, so that's where they kind of combine the two to create the modern day card. But these cards got swapped. The Justice card, Strength is traditionally the 11th card and Justice the 8th, but it was switched. There was a switch between those two cards. So this is all about finding your strength, and it's coming from the heart, right? The heart chakra of the sun and the moon. But I think this is a very powerful Lion's Gate because the moon is there and Venus is there, like all in the Lion's Gate. And so, you know, really tap into your divine feminine energies and meditate on those energies right now as we're coming out of the Lion's Gate. You know, you want to take what you've kind of you know, focused on during the Lion's Gate and then bring that forth into the rest of the year. So, because that's your heart chakra. So really work on, you know, focusing just on the divine feminine, connect to earth, you know, lie on the ground tomorrow and just, you know, connect to the earth's energies because that is the divine feminine. Okay? The divine feminine is nature. Okay, so you have to just kind of, you know, pay attention to the sky, talk to the elementals, you know, lie on the ground, hug a tree, all those things. And that will really help you, you know, kind of bring all the energies for the following year in your favor. Okay, if you want to tap into feminine. So I hope you had a great Lion's Gate, and I've been super busy working on my shower and I've got it complete. I'll do a little video on it and I'm really happy with it. And so, yeah, I'll get back to doing the classes now. I can start to focus on those. And I want to do the class on the 9 muses. I'm super happy I kind of waited because I got a big, huge download about the number 9. And of course, that's the 9 muses and why they are so important for us and understanding our own bodies and just understanding how we become empowered in directing where our soul ends up. Okay, it all does tie to the 9 muses. So it's a very important class. I consider it important because I've been working on the 9 muses for over a year now or more. But I was super excited because I got more information that came in so I can share it with you guys. So I'll get on that, and those classes, I'll do a little preview for the class, and then you can book through my email. So yeah, happy Lion's Gate, guys. Take care.